Are you ready for some smart, plain talk on politics, Israel, and the law? It's the Andrew Parker Show. Let's roll. Welcome to another episode of the Andrew Parker Show, where each episode we talk politics, Israel, and the law. And I say thank you. Thank you for listening, joining in, and our sponsors, thank you as well. That is the Parker Daniels Keyboard Law Firm, premier litigation law firm, Wise Counsel Winning Results, located in downtown Minneapolis. I've handled many multi-million-dollar bet the company cases, constitutional law, civil rights, First Amendment law, as well as business litigation and commercial litigation, employment, thriving employment law practice as well. And True North Investments, also sponsor of the Andrew Parker Show. Go to the andrewparkershow.com, visit our website, join, subscribe, like, follow, all of those various things. And find us on the YouTube channel. I want to talk today in this episode. Geez, we're approaching episode, 440, just about. But I want to talk today about the fact that human civilization is in the fight of its life. A civilized society, one that reveres life, believes in a higher power, is not so arrogant, believes in freedom and liberty, and allowing each and every individual to succeed and find his or her God-given talents and to exercise those talents to become the best that you can be. That is not the civilization of despots, of religious zealots who believe that everyone must believe what they believe, and who demand such, and you are a second-class citizen, or you are exiled, or you are eliminated if you do not believe what these zealots believe. And so we're in the fight of our lives for these, to save these ideals. And here in the United States, we see significant deterioration, falling from good to evil on both the far left and the far right. The attacks on the state of Israel, based in fundamental blood libels and blatant outright lies, people could disagree. There's probably a little truth to both sides. There really isn't on a number of issues. First, there was no genocide in the last couple of years during the war in Gaza by the Israelis. Israelis do not engage in genocide or anything like it. In fact, they put their own people, their own soldiers, kids in the IDF at substantial risk in order that they not violate any war crime laws or definitions such as those given to the concept of genocide. And they do this, again, at their own peril and risk, as Hamas attempts to gin up this theme of genocide through lies, through distorted statistics and facts. But even if they were believed, it would not be genocide. So that is just a blatant falsehood, that whole narrative. But in addition, refusal or failure to provide humanitarian aid, another lie, blatant lie. More humanitarian aid per capita was provided in this armed conflict to the quote-unquote enemy by the state of Israel than in any other. And the civilian casualties to combatants numbers in urban warfare is lower than any other. And this is not just any kind of urban warfare. It is densely populated urban environment with a tunnel system of more than 300 miles of tunnels. They just uncovered very, very recently a 4.3 mile tunnel in and of itself with more than 80 hideout locations where weaponry was stored underneath hospitals, schools, mosques, residential apartments, all to bring on more death and destruction, more death of civilians. And Hamas committed many, many deaths as well, and they have done so and continue to do so today, even after this so-called peace plan, which is hardly going to result in peace, in my judgment, at all. I know that Donald Trump is attempting to take great credit for engaging peace, and he did some great things with this quote-unquote peace plan, including getting the return of the living hostages, as well as I think there are a couple bodies that are still not returned, of murdered hostages. But make no mistake, the supporters of terror, the actors in these terrorist organizations from A to Z are retooling. They are rehabilitating their troops, their supporters. They are reconstituting. And they are getting munitions and weaponry. They are not sitting idly by. And there are governments that are providing the money and, in fact, the equipment and munitions directly to them. Both Hamas, Hezbollah, other Muslim Brotherhood behind this with Qatar and Turkey, and then the whole Iranian axis. They are retooling. These are actors who are evil. They are terrorist organizations. They try to excuse their conduct by saying that Israel is a colonialist settlement state. And the fact of the matter is, it is not. It is a lie to say otherwise. It is a lie to say that they are a settlement or a colonial settlement state. The Jews are indigenous to the state of Israel, have been there even though they were kicked out time and again and exiled, have been there for thousands of years. Not just the last, 77, 78 years. No. Thousands of years. And they just didn't appear on the scene and kick Palestinians out. No, they did neither. They have been there. They were there before Islam ever even existed. And there is archaeological scientific proof of this fact, not developed by Jews or by pro-Israel advocates, but by professionals, by scientists. And so there can be no question or doubt regarding that. But in addition to it, the evidence is overwhelming that the Jews did not kick the Palestinians out. The Arabs said, we are going to destroy the nascent Jewish state. Within hours, they declared that. Within hours of the recognition of the state of Israel, that the Arab population rejected the partition plan in 1947. And within hours, war broke out. And the Palestinians left with the desire to return when their Arab brethren destroyed the Jews, destroyed the Jewish state, the only Jewish state in the entire world, and it's a sliver the size of New Jersey, the only location for the Jews to have a homeland. It's their ancestral land. This little strip of land, again, the size of New Jersey. But no, the Arab countries arrayed, enormously larger than the state of Israel, strategically positioned around the state of Israel with the Mediterranean Sea on the other side. And they said, we're going to push all the Jews into the sea, and you'll come back to your homes. You'll have the entirety of the land. There won't be any partition plan. There won't be any Jewish and Palestinian state or Jewish and Arab state. No, it'll be all Arab, all Palestinian. Well, that didn't happen. The Jews did not, right after World War II and the complete destruction of an entire third of the world Jewish population, destroyed, eliminated, even off the heels of that heinous action by the Third Reich, by the enemies of the Jews at the time, they survived. And they fought off this array in this Arab onslaught, and somehow survived. There was no hue and cry for a Palestinian state after they had rejected the partition plan during the 19 years between 1948 and 1967. There wasn't. No, this was all about a one-state solution, and yet another war was brought on by the Arabs. And now, a word from our sponsors. A record of success second to none. Parker Daniels Keyboard Law Firm, the numbers tell the story. The last 5 cases our lawyers have brought to trial have resulted in million and multi-million-dollar verdicts for our plaintiff clients and 0 defense verdicts for our defense clients. Put simply, we try cases and we win cases. Hi, I'm Andrew Parker. At Parker Daniels Keyboard, we take our work personally and we go the extra mile. That is why some of the biggest law firms, locally and nationally, send cases to us to handle when they can't. If you have a challenging and critically important business or personal legal dispute that must be favorably resolved, whether regarding a contract matter, a business divorce, a real estate dispute, an employment dispute, a civil rights or defamation matter, plain talk, if it's a big deal, contact us at Parker Daniels Keyboard. Wise counsel, winning results. Go to parkerdk.com. Looking to reduce your tax liability and grow your portfolio? Consider Texas-based Texacoma Resources. They have been delivering results for over 40 years in energy investments. Investors may benefit with strategic advantages like depreciation, depletion, and drilling, but should consult their tax advisors for their specific situation. Call True North Investment at 612-968-3442 to learn more. That's True North Investment, 612-968-3442. Texacoma Energy that works for you. So this colonial settlement state is a lie, just like the claim that the Israelis engaged in any kind of genocide. They did exactly the opposite. They fought this war in the most humane way possible, and we need to start to stand up against those lies. And those lies flow into Congress. They are being spread by members of Congress, certainly by the supporters of those members. They are being spread by scholars, by professors at universities, said to walk, they walk around with their diplomas arrayed around their neck like a scarf. And you walk into their classroom and they give their lecture and they blatantly, unadulterated lies is what they spread. Now, it doesn't mean that Israel has never made mistakes or that they have, people have, in the IDF have gone rogue or outside of. But there's a justice system, a judicial structure that takes them to task and it metes out justice and judgment. And it has happened numerous times when errors have been made. But that is what civilized society does. Not line up opponents and shoot them in the back of the head like Hamas did when they were given some semblance of control after this quote-unquote peace plan was entered into. And this cesspool of lies has found its way into the regular discourse of the Democratic Party. Not just the far left, but into the middle of the Democratic Party, I would argue. And it's a problem. It's a serious problem. And it is finding a home, these lies are finding a home in the Democratic Party. But it is not as if the Republican Party is clean as a whistle. No. Because on the far right, these lies in the name of isolationism, lies such as people who are Zionists, people who are pro-Israel, have a dual loyalty. And they carry out that dual loyalty through their lobbying of members of Congress. How dare they go to their members of Congress and tell those members their opinion about the Middle East conflict, about the state of Israel versus our enemies? They're showing dual loyalty. Are they? Or are they showing full loyalty to the United States and that this is good policy for the United States? This benefits the United States. It is strategic. It is smart. In fact, it is the commonality of values between the two countries that is the foundation upon which every argument marches forward. That commonality. And I'll tell you, the far right is as dangerous as the Democratic Party and what has seeped in so clearly on the left. as on the right you see traditional thousands of years of restating the blood libels, the conspiracy theories against the Jewish people, particularly those who lobby their members of Congress. Like, the Jews can't lobby, others can. The black community, they can lobby as much as they want for the black community because it's not another country. But what about those who lobby for Ukraine? Ukrainian Americans who lobby for Ukraine. Well, they can do that as much as they want. That's not dual loyalty. But the Jews who try to bring fact and truth to what has actually happened over this last 2 years during this war, that is dual loyalty. That is not an America first policy. That is an Israel first policy. But wait a minute. They're not mutually exclusive. Can't they both be the case? Is being pro-Israel a sound America first policy? Well, I would argue that it is. And in fact, I would argue that clearly stating the pro-Israel position, the Zionist position, that Jews have a right to a home, to a state, to a sovereign in the ancestral homeland of the Jewish people. They have a right to that. And by the way, people have lobbied the U.S. Congress for their ancestral homeland many, many times before. And they're not called out for having a dual loyalty. We can openly and should be openly pro-Israel, pro-Zionist. Yes, I am a Zionist. Oh, that word, that's racist. That's since when is Zionism been erased from the good side of our political lexicon, our language in politics? Well, probably over the last 10 years. Yeah, maybe over the last 20 years. It has been attacked. We need to fight back against that. Use the term as appropriate because it is legitimate and it is good. So, is U.S. support for a country that tests our weaponry in battle, as the Israelis have, that helps train our military month in, month out? The number of groups, military groups that have gone to Israel for training purposes, for sharing purposes, is legion. Support for a country that provides quality information sharing. Unequivocally, number one. That is America first. And the amount of lives that have been saved because of it cannot be overstated. Support for a country that spends 75 to 80% of all aid that the U.S. provides to it, that spends that money back here in the United States, creating thousands of good-paying jobs in America, is an America First policy. And that's what Israel does. Support for a country that shares world-class technology, innovation, connecting people, saving lives, and improving lives is an America First policy. How many lives have been saved by Israeli innovation? Congresswoman Giffords is just one anecdotal example. I talked about it on a previous episode. The bandages that saved her life were invented, created, wouldn't exist but for the state of Israel. But that's just, that's one important but small example. Many, many more lives have been saved through military security and safety measures created, innovated in the state of Israel. That is America first. Support for a country that has been with the United States shoulder to shoulder with zero space or separation in the war on terror, every step of the way, including information sharing, training of our personnel overseas in the state of Israel, the state that knows how to deal with terror, sadly and unfortunately, better than any other in the world. That training has helped save the lives of Americans and advanced our position as it relates to the war on terror. That is America First policy. Support for a country second to none in unwavering support of America worldwide. I dare ask, name another country that has stood by America consistently, arm in arm, with the positions America takes around the world in our foreign policy, consistently, unwavering, the state of Israel. And that is an America First policy. And finally, support for a country with shared values of freedom, liberty, democracy, unique in the Middle East, but I would argue uniquely at the highest level of any country in the world. Support for that country is an America First policy. So how dare they say lobbying on support on behalf of Israel, gathering money to support candidates who understand the importance of Israel to the United States? The claim that that is somehow dual loyalty, improper, conspiratorial, somehow suspicious, that has no place in our political discussions. But more than that, our support for Israel should be doubled, tripled, quadrupled, off the scale. It will benefit the United States. It is the America First policy. I'm Andrew Parker, and until next time, be kind to your neighbor. For more Smart Plain Talk, go to theandrewparkershow.com. Learn about all of your listening and viewing options. And remember, all the great things are simple, and many can be expressed in a single word: freedom, justice, honor, duty, mercy, hope. This episode of The Andrew Parker Show is sponsored by Parker Daniels Keyboard and True North Private Investments.
Did your employer make you sign a promissory note when joining the company, and now you want to leave, but you're afraid your firm will pursue you personally for that debt? This is Jesse Keyboard from the law firm Parker Daniels Keyboard. I recently represented a client who had signed such a note, and I was able to get them out of their $500,000 debt to their company, which allowed them the freedom to exit a bad employment situation and enter a much better one. Meeting our clients' objectives is our focus at Parker Daniels Keyboard, and in this regard, we win. Our experienced trial team of lawyers at Parker Daniels Kibort have secured major victories in state and federal courts across the country and through arbitration. We have the legal expertise in all types of business disputes, labor and employment matters, real estate matters, shareholder disputes, financial transactions, security issues, and appeals. For wise counsel, winning results, contact us at Parker Daniels Kibort, a premier litigation law firm that provides efficient, aggressive, and innovative solutions to complex legal problems. Wise counsel, winning results. Go to parkerdk.com.
Looking to reduce your tax liability and grow your portfolio? Consider Texas-based Texacoma Resources. They have been delivering results for over 40 years in energy investments. Investors may benefit with strategic advantages like depreciation, depletion, and drilling, but should consult their tax advisors for their specific situation. Call True North Investment at 612-968-3442 to learn more. That's True North Investment, 612-968-3442. Texacoma Energy that works for you.